Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron IV Black Ice, and of course we're playing as Britain. Now, I've been asked by the stream, are we going monarchist for Britain? And we can see, well, we have George the 6th here as king, so he's monarch, and then we have Anthony Eden, who's conservative, who's giving daily conservative support. We have Churchill, who's a conservative politician, daily conservative support, Samuel Haar, Mackenzie's conservative support, Neville Chamberlain's conservative support. We got Churchill, of course, very early in this game. I think maybe a bit too early, but Atkins, conservative, government fundraising, he doesn't, political advisor, daily conservative support there, political power gain, just silent workhorse, daily conservative support here for Wallace, and monarchist support daily 0.07, pretty high for this guy here. I don't know, most of those weren't, that's 7 for him. We're here, 0.2, 0.1, 0.1, or 0.1, or 0.01, yeah, not saying that well. Well, I didn't quite do all the math on all those, but it looked like, because there was one that was 2% here, or daily liberal, daily Democratic support, should balance him out. Now, what is why is monarchist faction so popular? I don't know. Yeah, I know you're talking about the game, not in general. I get you. But what is monarchist in Britain? Isn't that at this time, in 1938, the Liberal and Conservative Party, both of those parties, Labour, I would also put monarchist. Now, are they saying it's supposed to be, anti-parliamentarian monarchist, meaning no parliament monarchy? Get rid of parliament entirely? Because the British monarchist tradition, even when you have conflicts with Charles I, Charles I isn't trying to get rid of Parliament. He's just fighting Parliament, a particular Parliament. Not that he's getting rid of Parliament. He's just fighting particular one. Now, of course, Parliament, especially by the time you get it under Oliver Cromwell, is trying to get rid of the monarchy. Nope, we just started. Should be pro-monarchy, anti-parliament. Yeah, and now, also in the context of Britain, because, and I don't know who's designed this thing. You might presume, I don't presume, because a lot of people design things for Germany that aren't German. You might presume that it's somebody British, but an somebody who's pro-monarchy, anti-parliament would not be supporting George the 6th. He would be supporting a restoration of the Stuart monarchy. Whoever they were thinking that would be at this point. Probably most consensus would be a guy, the King of Bavaria. But yeah, so that just doesn't really make sense in the context of Britain. Where in France, monarchism comes in technically three flavors, but one is just sort of a split of the of one. It's either Bonapartism, supporting a Bonaparte as emperor of France, but though it still is a monarchy, or it's supporting the Bourbons, and there's two Bourbon claimants. One is more directly bloodline linked to the last Bourbon king, but it's through a traitorous line who supported the French Revolution, I guess. And the other one is not through that. So I would disagree with that. Well, Mosley would be I think, an anti-monarchist. I don't know who Eddie VIII is, because I see Mosley as a fascist, which would not be what I would see. Charles had conflicts with Parliament for sure, and tried to arrest, and did so very badly in that he didn't arrest them, a few members of Parliament. So, it wasn't trying to get rid of the institution of Parliament. Yeah, the Legitimists and the Orleanist branches. Yeah. In game. Okay, yeah, I have not looked at the fascist leaders in this game. Oh, Edward the Eighth. Okay, I get you now. Reading up the chat. Oh, and I'm streaming both YouTube and Twitch, so whichever is best for anyone to watch the live stream on, you can do. And I'm getting this chat from both of them. So, I can see how Edward the Eighth would be anti-Parliament, and that they were the main instrument of sort of bringing him down, if you will. I am not satisfied. I am very not satisfied with the explanation that Edward VIII leaves his, abdicates, because he does abdicate. Although he had never been actually crowned, he had never gone through the formal crowning ceremony. There's some merch and stuff that was made way back then for the coronation, but it never happened. Wallis Simpson, the woman that he marries, is an American divorcee, and that was a bit upsetting to some people in Britain for sure. But looking at particularly the House of Hanover, there, as they do the name change to Saxe-Coburg Gotha once Victoria marries Albert, and then changes the name to Windsor after the start of the First World War to get away from a German name. But the House of Hanover, if you look at its sort of marital type history, marrying an American divorcee is a minor thing. So, yeah, I think there's something else that they knew that was going on, and that hasn't come out yet. Try and send in mobile forces, tanks, and motorization to North Africa to kick Italy out. Well, yeah, Arno, we're going to see about that, but I think we're first. Well, I don't know. We're going to go with Monty as a battle operations director, theorist. Free press, export focus, foreign investment tolerated. Okay. Limited force integration is what we're currently doing. Advanced naval. Well, we want to escort efficiency. We definitely want to keep that. Just see that they're suggesting a change. Chief of the Navy. Naval aviation, convoy defense. I think that's what we want to do. Submarine detection. Yeah, we'll go pond. Okay, used up a lot of our political power there. Well, let's get the clock rolling. Well, the question is, are we going to, early on, are we going to try to defend France, or are we going to try to kick Italy out of North Africa? That's an interesting, because the Italy out of North Africa has some good merits to it. It is something, and do it so quickly. It is something that we could do, that, especially if we concentrate on it, we could do it. And be victorious there, where if we try to defend France, we're likely to lose anyways. I don't know how long France will... I figure it'll collapse. But I really have not played this with the latest version of Black Ice, so I don't know. And looking here, why there's... Well, okay, you can be attacked from several provinces. Why there's 3 divisions here, that makes sense. Why there's 3 divisions back here, I don't quite get. And of course, if they don't defend along here, they're gonna die quickly. Yeah, that's another option that I've thought of doing, Arno. They're trying to defend Norway, because I think Norway is defensible both historically and in game. Britain can maintain, especially for the north. In the south, German air power can rule a little too much. But up in the north, for sure, it is defensible. And when you still have France alive and with enough divisions, you could have easily pushed, I don't know, 3 or 4 French divisions along with some British up here. I think they could have held Norway if they do. But send troops. Maybe we'll see about that. Okay, fall of Nanjing. Probably the second time it's happened. Yeah, they actually got Nanjing. This is the false Nanjing. Yeah, well, they were okay. You know, development in Canada, very good. I often say that, you know, people, because we often look at it from a, you know, how many tanks, how many soldiers, how good your general is. But warfare is a political act. It's politics. Just quickly mentioning politics, I was watching something slightly before this. Realized, just to the world out there, so that you know, the American election is not over. We're still going through the election. Now it's sort of in the phase of going through the courts. So it's not over. I know a lot of people want to make you think. I'm not saying I think it's like going one person or another is going to win. No, it's not over, and there's congressional seats that are not just the presidency. There's congressional seats that still haven't been decided. Some of those have gone to court. They're still fighting over who's going to win the latest American election. But politics is about perception. A lot of politics is perception, not just how many people got what votes, and I'm thinking like in Britain or other places, who's supporting what parties and things like that. So warfare is a political act. Politics is about perception. Okay, now Britain tries to come in, or does come in and land around this area to try to deal with Germany. Well, this isn't going so well down here, where this ain't going so well up around Narvik for Germany. Britain's had some naval losses up here and some sort of out here a bit more. And Germany sneaks in a couple hundred soldiers across Sweden as sort of athletic tourists or something. They actually do that, and get some reinforcements up in here. But Britain has the upper hand materially in the numbers of soldiers, the amount of ammo, that kind of thing. I don't know that they have the upper hand in the mind of the commanders. Oh, it ain't over. Now I'm giving it about 80% chance, which is a strong majority, that it is going to be Biden, but it ain't over. Well, I see this that so many cases are going. He's losing so many cases in court. Trump is. No, Trump isn't. Trump's just won a major one, or he's won, I think, 2 major ones yesterday. Now, there's a lot of Republicans. See, some Republicans are suing in Pennsylvania, other Republicans in Pennsylvania. And so a lot of the cases that have gone against, people say, against Trump, these are just other lawsuits that like I could file a lawsuit if I wanted to go file a lawsuit. Just hire a lawyer and file a lawsuit. Doesn't mean I have any good thing. So all the stuff that's going against, people say are going against Trump, are just against random guys. It's not against the Trump electoral campaign lawsuits. And there he's doing about 50-50 winning, losing. And that's just first case incident that it has to get to the U.S. Supreme Court to be final decision. So, well, you don't understand, AZ. And this is one thing that like British people don't understand because they have party unity. The party is controlled by a central thing. There is no central control of political parties in America. It's office holders, and there are there are committees that raise money. Just to sort of go, in Pennsylvania, here, they changed the law for mail-in voting, and which they ran the current election under. So there's one set of Republican lawmakers that are maybe thinking about doing one thing, but since they changed the law about mail-in voting, the Pennsylvania Constitution sets the laws for mail-in voting, and they didn't change the Constitution. So what they supposedly might, in U.S. time, 11 p.m. last night, a judge ruled, legislatures, you changed the law But you didn't change the Constitution that says what it's supposed to be. You just passed a law. This law is probably unconstitutional that they did the mail-in voting under. So, because we are a constitutional republic. So there's Republic, and it was the Republican legislature last year that passed the laws, but the laws didn't change. Wasn't a constitutional change. It was a law passed. And so, yeah, you didn't change the Constitution, so the mail-in voting was unconstitutional. So some of these Republicans because the Republicans changed it, and some Republicans are suing, and it's one of the defendants of the Republican legislature on it. So the Republicans are suing the Republicans, as it were. And so the judge is going, this is like unconstitutional. Now, I'm not sure what we're going to do, whether it's to throw out all mail-in voting, which would mean Trump wins, because the in-person voting, Trump won, or because the mail-in voting is unconstitutional, or is it just to say nobody gets votes from Pennsylvania this year, so that means those electoral votes are no longer in play? Or is it that instead of who won the popular election, is it the legislature gets to pick this year, which is controlled by the Republicans, so Trump wins? So right now I have no idea what's going to happen in Pennsylvania. Now it could be that this is all the votes are nullified, no votes for Trump, and Biden still wins, in Pennsylvania. I mean, Biden still wins overall. I'm not saying Trump's going to win this. Not saying that at all. But they're fighting out what's happening in the state of Pennsylvania. It's screwy. People who just get a little bit of information, and particularly people overseas, the election's over. No, it ain't. It's still being fought over. And in 2016, I think it was December 16th, that they finalized the elections. Okay, well, it isn't December yet. For Pennsylvania, December 16th. So this isn't unusual. It just normally isn't as critical. You're talking about the different constitutions, Wargay. There's the federal Constitution, the United States Constitution. Then there's the Constitution of Pennsylvania. And I'm talking about the Constitution of Pennsylvania. And the Constitution of Pennsylvania, to be changed, to make a change in the Constitution of Pennsylvania, you must pass the change for the Constitution twice in two different legislature sessions. So meaning one set of people get to vote, legislatures. We want to change the Constitution. Okay, good. We want to change it. Okay, now go have an election, popular election. And then the next set of legislatures can be the same people, but, go through a standard every 2-year election. Get the new people elected, or people get reelected, and then pass the same law again. That's required because you have to have that sort of popular vote in there to change the Constitution. Well, that means it takes a minimum of 2 years, and that would be, practically it's more 4 years or about, to change the Constitution in Pennsylvania. None of that was done. They just passed laws. So you were talking, this is just the Pennsylvania Constitution, and I don't know. I'm just the thing I was watching earlier. I don't know the Constitution of Pennsylvania. I'm not from there, never been there, never studied it, didn't know that. And each state can have its own constitution so long as that constitution doesn't violate the national constitution, like they found that, slavery violated the national constitution, and separate but equal, like schools for, based on race, is unconstitutional. So long as the laws are not unconstitutional, the states can do whatever they want. And you're right that the legislature in some states can just now pass laws that change things. See, it goes state by state how it's set up, and supposedly in Pennsylvania, voting, what is required for voting and like for absentee ballot, which is a type of mail-in voting. Not all mail-in voting is the same, but absentee ballots and what's required for them is set in their constitution in Pennsylvania, where in other states it's not. So it goes state by state, and no one person can really keep track of each state, all the details. So this is, politics, and yeah, I know, I'll get back to it. Thanks, Arno. No, they can't. Elections are not, they're not, you can't do early elections. This is why if they find too many irregularities, see, like the national elections for the president, Congress, Senate are set in the Constitution. You can, for House representatives, do special elections, but not for senators. So if somebody like dies or gives up his senatorial office, like to become a Secretary of Defense or Secretary of State or whatever, and so an open Senate seat, then the governor of that state gets to appoint the senator, because you don't get special elections for senators. You don't get special elections for presidents. For legislatural overall sessions, so unless a seat is vacant. So I guess theoretically, if every single legislature person wishes to resign his office, and then, but I don't even know if that would count, because they say it's legislative sessions. The two of them have two legislatural sessions, and legislatural sessions, at least in most states, are every 2 years. You have a session. That's how long you're elected for. So it doesn't say two legislatural sessions. So yeah, you don't get to do snap or early elections in America. So like if you find, so theoretically, if Biden and Harris were riding in a car together and they have a car accident and they both die, we can't do a do-over election now because it's already happened. It would go to Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. She'd be the next president. It wouldn't be Trump. It would be Nancy Pelosi. So you can't, and we can't have a new national election. She would just be it. Now there's ways to remove her from president, but it gets complicated. So yeah, it ain't just like, hey, we want to do more stuff. And so warfare is a political act. That's where we sort of got off on this. And with particularly Norway being lost and the battles down here not going well for the Anglo-French invasion of Norway, because that's sort of what it was, they decided to fully pull out. And the perception, both in the military mind of the commander up here, for the British wasn't going well. Dietl, I'm impressed by Dietl, the German general commanding up there. He was in very much an inferior position, but was being very aggressive with a very mixed lot of soldiers, which included a bunch of just sailors off ships that got sunk. That most ships carry enough rifles and pistols, to arm the whole crew up. Well, I know some of the ships got sunk. I don't know, because some of the ships got sort of sunk, and they, the captains got them aground instead of them, going under the ocean. They were sort of sunk in harbor or along the coast that they were hitting, were sinking, and they got ashore. But I also think that because there were German destroyers that were, coming into port, delivering troops and supplies, I think they just pulled the guns off of some of the ones that weren't sunk to give the sailors rifles and such. And all at least in the American armed forces, all sailors know how to go through basic rifle training and know how to shoot a rifle and do some very basic stuff. But that doesn't mean they're infantry soldiers. They're just, guys who know what to do, know which end the bullets come out, know how to function, have some basic stuff like that. So I presume, again, I don't know, but I presume that's the case in the German Navy at the time. So yeah, he has this really mixed force of not all very good troops. And there was, I think it was about like 200. They got 200 unarmed Germans that, had sort of civilian passports up into Sweden and got them, up to the border, and then, oops, jumped across the border and quickly found some uniforms or something, and were fighting, reinforcements for Dietl sent across Sweden as tourists or something at the time. But he's doing really good. But it was so holdable. Britain could have withdrew its forces from down here and relanded them up here, and held. I think, and with the distance, yeah, you can build some quick use air base fields. All you need is a flat enough piece of earth, and I know it's mountainous here, but you could do some stuff like that to get some air operations over here. And they were, I think, mostly at night, or I don't know, but they were flying in some supplies, but there really wasn't German air control over here. Yeah, like I said, you can get some aircraft up here, but that doesn't mean that they're well maintained, because you got to do aircraft maintenance, rearming, refueling. How much can you do from improvised airfields while the British are operating more successfully up here? I think they could have defeated Dietl and held the north of Norway. Now the Germans might have been enough need to invade Sweden to get that, but that would have been a different thing. Yeah, the swordfish they were using there. I think they were Hurricanes. I don't know from what air base they were operating, land base they were operating, the British were operating. I think it was Hurricanes and not Spitfires, but I'm not absolutely sure on that, but just most likely Hurricanes. That when they were evacuating, either it was from here or it was from down here, but it was, they were land based that had been brought ashore. That contrary to orders, because they were ordered to destroy them, they took them off and successfully landed them on the carrier. Now, these are without tail hooks. So they were able to get in, and it was not that it was going to be dangerous and like sink the aircraft carrier, but you got to realize they're not naval aircraft, so the wings don't fold up, so they can't I don't know for sure if they could go down on the elevator, but there was no room in the aircraft hangar below the below the flight deck. So they were landing them on the flight deck and getting them to the far end without crashing into other. So because again, you got to picture this. You got a very small flight deck. You got an aircraft coming in without a tail hook to catch the arresting wires. And so if you don't slow down enough, you're going to pile into other aircraft that are already on the deck. So you have to do this. And at this point, Britain just wants, because this would be before the actual, I think, fall of France, but because this is sort of going on the same time as the main invasion of France, they just want the good pilots out alive and safe, and not to have fires on board the one aircraft carrier. Doesn't mean they're going to sink it just because a couple aircraft get on fire or anything like that. It wasn't that dangerous to the ship, but the ship's captain is all on land your land-based fighters on our aircraft carrier, but they get out. I don't know, it's like 10 or so fighters that they still had operational, that they were able to land on the carrier deck and get them back to England. So yeah, Britain could have held up there. That's now, should it have? Yeah, probably, but Okay, we want to get this, so we need to develop New Zealand is the next one. Well, we need to get to New Zealand, so Australia is the next one, so we're going to do that. We want both our Commonwealth to do it. Yeah, the Spitfires were like a fighter commanded back in Britain. I don't think they were operating from in France even. Or were they in France? I'm not sure. Assault operations, very good. Okay. And so we now have one leader, which helps us for research here a little bit. Yeah, I read that story a few years ago now, so I'm sure I have some details wrong. But always check up on all of my stories and whatnot, because although I do research things, so I think I'm pretty good with historical accuracy, I know I'm making mistakes. Okay, so we've got... We're going to go with 3 factories of Spitfires right now. Unassigned divisions, yes, okay. Gibraltar garrison, let's see, okay. We're giving these to a sort of Mediterranean command general. Okay, so they were in France. Cool. Yeah, Cavalry Brigade. I haven't decided what I want to do with him yet. British troops in Aden. We can give that. He's Africa Command, I think. Yeah, we can give that to Africa. It's close enough to Africa. It's best to have the divisions under somebody. Okay, well, that, you see, getting to... Yeah. I don't know if we need to really hold out there or there, but okay. What is Falklands Island Defense Force looks like? Okay. That's way over strength. Hey, thanks for following. That's way over strength if you've ever seen what Saint Helena looks like. Yeah, okay. Well, we don't need to worry about those so much. Britain was rather worried about the technical aspects of Spitfire getting out and realizing that Spitfire was their best fighter and wanting to save it to defend Britain. And the Hawker Hurricane was pretty damn good. So it might not have been their first-rate best. Yeah, we could do that. Best fighters, but they were reasonably good. And they got updated over time, like all the major fighters, including things like the Mustang. So, how good they are is, yeah, their stats, if you will, is a specific fact, but it's relatively speaking to other nations. Okay, I know this is all happening as okay. It's auto, but I want to specify some ports here so that I separate them out and can be better. No, I didn't want that. I really sort of hate that when I do this. If I click just the wrong little bit. You see, click. I'm trying to miss there and got there. Okay, that worked. That worked. Okay. There we go. I think that's all of our submarines. Now, let's put our two Nelson class. We'll put them up here on the Clyde Bank, probably where they would be built. They were building ships in other parts of Britain, but this was the major naval base. Yeah, those are just build one, and yeah, we'll put the Ark Royal class aircraft carrier that we're building there. Now with the destroyers, we're going to run as convoy, set up for convoy protection. Put them out of Cardiff here. No, auto. There we go. Not that they really would have been built there, but that's where I want them to show up. So, okay. Now let's... Yeah. Create a new task force. All submarines. Okay. I'm going to select all submarines. Well, where, chat, should we do our first main? Because we're doing, which Britain did do some, but was not a major focus of their submarine warfare, but we're doing naval mine laying submarines. Should we try to lay mines up here before Germany gets Norway at the Skagerrak? So I think we should be able to get through. Navies can pass, neutral, permit. Contested submarines can pass. Once enemy possession, both sides, submarine can't. So we could fill this area with naval mines early in the war. Or we could start putting mines down here, or do we want to split them up? Well, I'm going to keep most of my ships out of the North Sea, I think. I hear you on AA cruisers, but I think so. Hey, Toy Jet. Hey, Toy Jet. Do you know on our multiplayer game, did you ever fully mobilize, because that was a question that's brought up, fully mobilize and coming in here to general mobilization level, Japan's army? Or is it still back at, yeah, you did that? Okay. So now I haven't done that for Germany now. I just defeated Poland quickly. That wasn't an issue. I don't remember whether we were at standing or reserve. Hello, Niels. Toy Jet says better in the... And he's a beluga. He should know about how to do mines. Okay, well, let's select this. We're going to create a new task force. I think we're going to... let's do 10. 10. We're going to select 10. We're going to put them up here in Hull, I think. And we're going to come back down here and get these other 24. Fairly large number. I think enough to be effective. I got lots of naval. Good. Blockade runner. Blockade runner is pretty good for... No, I just want to assign you. That's it. Okay. You can come down here. Let's see if we can base you out of Alexandria. Landmines up here. We do have a couple of British. Well, 3. A few. Hey, Nagaro. Yes, you can watch on either service. Whichever one is best for you. Okay, so we have a carrier. We don't have enough. We can't. I know you can specify. Types of airplanes. Capacity, we're at 32 out of 35 possible. Okay. Not exactly a balanced fleet. Let's... Okay, some heavy cruisers and destroyers. Submarine flotilla with a bunch of different submarines. Coastal, regular, and what are SC? I don't know. Fleet, submarine, and coastal. Okay. Reserve fleet, channel force. Right. Actually, I have more planes than they're allowed. I didn't know you could do that. Well, this would be home fleet up here. Okay, so we could put a northern patrol out to sort of patrol out to here. With home fleet ready to intercept an invasion. Okay, I think what we're going to do here is we're going to move you up to here. You're going to go join home fleet. Concentrate our carriers a little bit. Now that leaves these guys here, which we have some mine laying ability. Now they're CLs, so they're going to be subject to air attack, of course. So I don't know whether it's the Bay of Biscay or somewhere, but I think we're going to move these forces over here. We'll move them out to Cardiff. Bristol is getting a little small of a port for stuff. Use them about... Yeah, that's a good idea, Arno, but right now, quite honestly, he's suggesting heavy fighters if you didn't read. I don't know that I have enough. I mean, I got multi-role fighters 90, that aren't currently in squadrons, and Spitfires 61, or maybe some older fighters that have been replaced by Spitfires, as they are. So I just don't know that I have the luxury of building more, and I should probably build more. I think I have one factory in production of carrier airplanes or carrier bombers, yeah, and some carrier fighters, which are way out of date, at least in my mind, for a fighter. Like the Swordfish that the British used as a naval bomber, torpedo bomber, those actually were fairly decent, but they get shot down easy from proper fighter. Okay, all purpose. Well, decryption power, 100 days. We already have basic radar. Yeah, we'll do that. No, good suggestion. I'm taking it seriously, Arno, because it is a good suggestion. We're just still peacetime Britain. Thanks, Nils. I don't know if we're going to get to Carnage action today. We're still, they're fighting it out in Spain, but no, I'm not going to send an expeditionary force. And they're fighting it out in China. Well, we know what can happen with China here and screwing us. Okay. With each passing day, royalists grow even stronger than before, sensing that they have gained the most support. Royalists are now calling for a referendum to decide the future of the United Kingdom. Unfortunately, they are likely right that they would win with such a rush, but to deny them would enrage them and possibly lead to more violent referendum on the nation itself. Alternatively, we could take some more aggressive measures to deal with the problem before it grows off of hand. Okay, well, oh boy, I don't like this. He just has way too much monarchist support. I was looking more for the political power gain. Okay, do we have somebody here who will give us propaganda? Sorry, I don't want to. Daily conservative support, okay. Well, that'll help a little bit with this thing. Okay, well. Base stability down 10%, which we can afford that, I think, because we have 82% stability for 365 days. That's what we're going to do. But we've gotten rid of one guy who was pushing hardest for monarchy. Yeah, I don't think George VI would be going, yay, monarchy, monarchy, absolute monarchy. Because that's how they're defining it. Maybe a few of the staunchest Stuart supporters during the English Civil War period would have been for absolute monarchy, but I don't see it at this time period as anything realistic. I think moderator needs to tell Airy that things are supposed to be in English here. Moderator Airy. Good, Beam Slam. How you doing? No, absolute monarchy. Okay, I'm for good governance. Now, one key element of what I just said was governance, which is different than rule. If you go back to, say, the Middle Ages, which is not as dark as the Dark Ages, but the Dark Ages for sure, I would say probably the Middle Ages, and only starting to come out of it in the Renaissance, is a post-apocalyptic world. I don't think we see it clearly enough in those terms, because we see modern day post-apocalyptic movies now are mostly in zombie movies. People in my growing up and youthful days, we saw the Soviet Union as a major threat, and the it would be a nuclear apocalypse. So people would be wandering, radioactive wastelands and whatnot. where nowadays you see the monster movies and some very popular series, they're zombies, and that's the threat that we think is most likely. You go, zombies aren't likely. No, they're very likely. Now they're going to be the Walking Dead, in that what we fear is not that they're actually somebody whose like heart stopped and died. It's like, hey, like Ebola is spreading throughout the world, and so people are going to die, or people who have COVID and they don't know it and they're wandering around coughing in other people's faces, and these people with COVID are going to die. They're dying, but they're going to spread this death around. So it's zombies, is what we fear, is how I would describe it. Very much so. Zombies are what we fear, not, the literal dead that are walking around trying to eat your brains or something, or some juju zombies from, Haiti. But that sort of sick type person that is infecting other people and such. And that's what I think we fear. Now, how do I get you best into... Okay, let me see if we can select both of those. That's probably what I want to do. And well, there's a CVL. Yeah, I'll still put a CVL in there. Well, cool, Harry. And so, yeah. How did we get on zombies? I don't know. I don't know how we got on zombies. Well, let's continue. Don't worry, I'm just losing it a bit. My mind, that is. And let's come up here and select that, and then select that, and merge. There we go. So now we have a 2 carrier group up here. And we have more factories. Okay, well, we can place more radars, which will get us more looks in around the world. Oh, pause. Hunter-killer tactics, we'll look at that in a moment. Okay, well, I think we will do a Sussex radar. That looks like a good plan. And maybe a Cornwall radar? Hopefully these will build fairly fast. Now, I may be crazy, but I think we can hold Malta, so let's put a radar down there. I don't know that the British... Don't know, did the British have radar station in Malta by the time the war was getting going? Okay. We were in... here, I think we just... Fleet in being, is that what? Or were we doing trade convoys, probably? I'm not sure. Some of these are mutually exclusive and some of these are supportive. Mine warfare. I'm doing a lot of that too. I like that. I'm gonna do that. Well, that's, if you don't know, zombies come from the term at least, from what we fear. Oh, I remember how, because we looked at the Middle Ages. Oh, and governorship. Oh, boy. Yeah, I'm losing it, aren't I, guys? Zombies come from sort of Haitian voodoo type traditions. That's, at least the word comes from there, and some sort of living dead type person. But the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages, they were a post-apocalyptic world, and that was a brutal, short, nasty place to live. And yes, you need people to rule. That's how we got there. Where I believe in governance is more appropriate than rule. Rule is something like you see in the Soviet Union, fascist Italy, Nazi Germany, places like that, in which you have rule. Someone is commanding. We are going to build this big super monument or bridge or whatever. Nationally organize things up and really push. By force, by rule. Where I believe in good governance, which governs activities. It gives a framework in which human activity happens. Now, the government can encourage activities such as colonization or whatnot. And I guess the difference would be is if a king or anybody, a dictator, or even a parliament, because parliaments did this, is going, we will colonize North America, earlier on. Okay, we're going to round up a bunch of citizens and force you to go colonize someplace out here. I'm against that. Now, there is penal colonies, and you get chosen for that, by being convicted of crimes and sent out there. That's different, because you're picking the people out by, you did something bad. Well, your punishment is to go to Georgia and be in a penal colony, go to Australia and be in a penal colony. That's a bit different. But I'm for the idea of governance. Hey, we're going to set up some colonies out here, and we're going to give incentives to go out to wherever. Or, you people want to wear silly clothing different than our silly clothing. You want to go form your own colony? Okay, sure. You can go, set up your colony somewhere. So the difference between governing and ruling, that's how we got there. And so once you get into more stable, developed cultural, governmental situations, you're no longer in a post-apocalyptic world. I believe in governance. Now, an absolute monarch can govern well. But because they're absolute monarchs, one, there's a human temptation, the old saying, it goes way back. I think it was one of, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, or whatever. If you're an absolute monarchy, even if you got a good guy ruling in there, governing in there, shall we say, then that absolute power can corrupt him. I'm not saying he turns evil. It just becomes a corrupting influence. Now, there's another group of people that say the libertarians. Their goal is to take over the world, become the absolute rulers, and then leave everybody alone. So tell nobody what to do, and just make sure nobody else becomes rulers, because they would then tell somebody what to do. Just sort of become president or emperor of the world, and then go, have fun, everybody. I'm the emperor. No one can tell anybody what to do. Only I can tell you what to do, and I'm not going to tell anybody to do anything. And so, they want to take over the world and then do nothing. Let everybody just be peaceful and happy. Yeah, if the human condition would allow that, fine. But that's not the way humans behave, or so far our tradition. Yeah, came over. Yes, absolutely. Beam slam. And I say Haitian, and it definitely is, but the Haitian the to get on other topics, the voodoo beliefs, which aren't purely located in Haiti for sure, but are strongest in the Franco African colonies for some reason, and much less strong, and particularly not strong in places like Jamaica. But I think it's some of these Franco colonies over here, slave colonies, and in Louisiana, which has French slaves holding traditions, it gets spread. So it's some weird sort of mixture. I don't know whether it's like a particular African belief that gets into Haiti, and then with the transfer of slaves around the region from Haiti or whatnot, mixed with some sort of Catholicism and other beliefs, you come up with the voodoo beliefs and all of that. And it's a religion, but it has its roots, I believe, in Africa, though it's mixed with Franco Catholicism and other sorts of things that go there. So I believe in good governance. Absolute monarchs, you can get good ones for the situation, but I'm not going to trust in that. Now, a monarchy that has checks and balances, shall we call it a constitutional monarchy, and Britain has a form of that, though they don't have they go, yeah, we have a written constitution. It's all these laws that Parliament passed and the king has signed. Yeah, that's not really what we mean by a constitution. It is a body of laws that govern both the citizens' behavior and the behavior of the government towards the citizens and whatnot. Yeah, so it is a written document, but it's changeable at the whims of Parliament. And there is no, other than the king or the monarch, and even there it's gotten down, so there's really no checks on parliamentary rule in Britain, I would say, in the modern day sense. So yeah, there are legalities that they have to pay attention to for sure. But so yeah, I think if it's culturally appropriate, I'm not against the idea of a monarchy. Actually, I'm for monarch. Actually, I'm a Jacobite. I'm for monarchy where it's culturally appropriate, meaning like in a place like Britain, which monarchy is culturally appropriate. America's a republic, and I don't think it's culturally appropriate to have a monarchy here. So yeah, it just that kind of thing out. So absolute monarchy, not the best idea, because most of the time you're not going to have the best people, and you need an institutional check upon the power, other than just simply revolt risk going too high. But we're going to end the episode here, not the live stream. We're going to keep going with that, but the episode, we're going to end that here. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking the video. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I know I say that too much, and I'm going to be saying it in just a moment, so we start a new one. But thanks everyone for watching. See you next time.